Hi everybody and welcome to the channel. I am Richard. Today I am going to bring you into the future again. To a futuristic sci-fi world where you are in the bottom of the society. But you are trying to fight your way back up. I'm gonna show you Cytress. Like I said, this is a futuristic sci-fi game where you try to get to the top of the food chain. You live down here with the rest of the people, but you don't want to be there. You want to be where the happy, wealthy, shiny people are. But first, you need to make your way up there. And I'm going to show you how you do that. In this video today, I'm going to give you an overview of this game. I'm going to show you the setup and the gameplay. So let's just take a look at it. This is the setup of the board. You start by taking the same amount of territory tiles as there are players. This is a 3-player game, so we should have 3 territory tiles. They should then be put together like that. This is called Cytress. You should then place the 4 faction mission boards around Cytress. We have 1 rover district, 1 hooligan district, 1 privateer district, and 1 corporate district. Then we need to take the faction mission cards, and you can see they all correspond with a spot on each faction mission board. You should take these cards, shuffle them, and then you should place 3 of them face up next to each faction board. Then you place the underbelly board beneath Cytress, and you should randomly select which side is facing up. You should then take the bounty cards looking like this, remove the cards that you do not need, because again here there is for a certain amount of player, this is a 3-player game, meaning that we do not need the +5 cards. And then place them face up next to the underbelly board, sorted depending on which bounty mission it is. It should be placed with the lowest number in the bottom and the highest number on the top. We then need to sort the depth card, and again we have a symbol on the card and it should correspond with the symbol on the board. These are placed next to the underbelly board. We then place the 6 skill ascension tokens face up underneath the underbelly board. Again, each token has a symbol that needs to match with the one on the board. Once we have placed everything on the board, it's time for us to build the floating city, also called Stratos. Now this is a cool feature, right? Let's just admit it, we're all little kids inside and we just love when something is built up on the board. Looking quite cool. This is quite simple to build, but again, you need to just make sure that you have the right side facing up, because there's a 2 to 3 player side and there is a 4+ side. This is again the 3-player side. Once you have built the floating city Stratos, you need to put the Stratos board under the floating city on the board, and you need to take the Stratoline cards looking like this, placing 5 face up on the floating city and the rest of them facing down next to the board on the ground. Now we should take 7 of these tunnel pieces per player. So this is a 3-player game, meaning that we should have 21 tunnel pieces. That's right, I still know how to count. We should take them and place them in the bottom of the floating city. Now each player is randomly handed a leaderboard. This will be your character during this game, and you can choose which side you want to have up. Down here at the bottom, you can see a color of your leader. This will be your player color in this game. Now each player should get their leader token. They should get 3 ships, again corresponding with the color, and also get 12 of these crew tokens. Then each player gets a supply tracker board, looking like this. This is where you keep a track of how many supplies you have. Each player should start with 2 of each supply, meaning that we start by putting them at number 2. You can even see it says start down here. Last thing we should do before starting playing the game is to hand out some specialist cards. Again, it says here on the card how many there should be in the game depending on how many players there are. Now we need to hand 2 cards to each player. If this had been a 2-player game, we would have handed out 3 cards instead. Cytress is a sci-fi engine building game where you compete against the other players to do missions and earn something called prestige. Prestige in this game is known as points. The player with the most points at the end of the game is the winner. And you get this prestige by doing different kinds of missions for the different kinds of fractions. While doing this, you can also earn new abilities and upgrade your crew. In Cytress, we have 4 different gangs. We have the privateers, we have the corporate, we have the rovers, and we have the hooligans. And these all control different parts of your everyday life. So depending on who you will complete missions for, this will affect your life path. And there are 4 different life paths that you can choose. These are the 4 different life paths. If you choose corporate, you can dominate production and producement of supplies, increasing the supplies you earn in the gain supplies phase. The privateers can be your advocates, earning you supplies if other players spread influence in those faction districts during the spread influence phase. If you instead take rovers, you will specialize in craft and trade, increasing your trade ratio if you choose to meet merchant in the travel phase. The hooligans have strength in numbers. They provide efficient reinforcement, reducing the cost of actions in the travel phase. Cytress is played over a series of rounds and is divided into 4 different phases. The first one is the supply phase. To know how much supply we get, we need to look in the top left life path. You can even see it says phase number 1. Depending on what symbol you have here, you will get different amounts of different supplies. But if he had done a mission and gained this ability, he would have gained 1 weapon, plus 1 weapon, plus 1 technology. And this is the way you will keep on expanding your different life paths by completing missions for the different fractions. Every time you complete a mission, you will get an upgrade and place it next to your life path. Once you know how much supplies you get, you simply increase the number on your supply board. So that was phase number 1. Quite simple, right? You look at the top left corner of your Coropad life path and you see the amount of supplies you get. That is done simultaneously. Once all players are done, we move into phase number 2. And now it's time for us to go out on the board and start to spread some influences. All players does this by taking their leader and placing them in one of the factions where they want to spread some influence. Here for example, in a 2 to 3 player games you only have 1 space to place the leader, but in a 4+ player games you will have 2 spaces. Depending on which faction you have chose, you will get different things. Up here you would get 5 pharma. Down here you would get 5 weapons. Over here you get 5 technology. And in the last one up here you get 5 credits. But even though the yellow player, for example, is standing over in the hooligan district, they may still earn supplies from the other fractions, depending on their privateer life path. You can see down here that the purple player here has a credit symbol in their privateer life path, meaning that this player would get 1 credit because the red player is visiting the corporate district. If this had been empty, they wouldn't have gained anything, but another player is there, so they can use this ability to gain some credits. Again, once you know how much supplies you get, you simply increase the value on the supply board. When the players are done collecting their supplies in phase 2, we move into phase number 3. And this is where we get to fly around the board a little bit, because we get to take one of our little spaceships here and place them on one of the 9 landing pads around the board. And there can be any number of ships on a landing pad, but you need to be able to complete the action in full on the location you choose.
If you choose to meet one of the factions, you place your little ship on the landing pad on the faction boards. But first you need to pay the cost. The cost is stated in the top of the hexes. If you want to meet one of the factions, you need to put your little ship in the hex on the faction boards. On the top of the hex there is a cost. This cost must be paid. But you might be able to reduce the cost. But if you have the same symbol in your Hooligan Life Pass as the mission you're trying to complete, the price will reduce with the amount of symbols you have. Meaning that this amount here, 4, will reduce down to 3 because there's 1 of the same symbols in the Hooligan Life Pass. Once the costs have been paid, we can place out a crew in Cytress, taking our little crew token here and placing it in Cytress. Lastly, we get to take one of the cards from this faction as we have completed this mission, refilling it with a new one from the top of the stack. Once we have received a mission card, we get to take it and place it somewhere around our leaderboard, extending that life path and improving this leader. You can also take your little ship here and fly it to meet the Stratolines and negotiate about building a tunnel. But to do this, you need to have a crew out in Cytress on a hex matching the ones lying up here. But I need to choose which type of level I want my tunnel to be. It can be 1, 2, and 3. Depending on how high your tunnel is in the end of the game, you will get a different amount of prestige. The higher it is, the more prestige you get. But the higher you want to build them, it will cost you more supplies. 1 level is 5, 2 level is 11 supplies, and 3 levels are 18 supplies. So you take your little crew here and you place it on the level you would like to build. I want to build 2, but I would need to pay the supply needed from the yellow one, as I came from a yellow hex. This one here wants me to pay some technology. So I would need to pay 11 technology supplies to be able to build a 2-section high tunnel. But of course I can do that. Once I paid my supplies, I put my tunnels on the hex my crew were at the last time. When you negotiate with the Stratolines, you actually get one more benefit, because you are not allowed to be here. You're just a commoner, right? So you need to get out of there. So once all the other players are done placing their ships, you need to take your little ship and relocate it somewhere else in Cytress, and taking this action as well. But the Stratolines are not the only way into rich and wealth. You can choose to meet the Net Prowler as well. These ones will let you build a tunnel on any hex that you have a crew on. You simply take your crew and you place it on which type of tower you would like to build. A number 3 for example. And then you need to pay the cost again. Here it's 18, but with the Net Prowlers you can pay any supply you would like to. If you are in need of some fast supplies, you could meet the Loan Shark. You simply travel to this location, and then you take one of the 4 depth card to the left of the Loan Shark. Taking this card and place it next to your supply board where it says depth. And then you raise your supply with the amount you just got. Of course this loan needs to be paid back, but you can first do that in phase number 4. Any loans that are not repaid by the end of the game will make you lose prestige points at the end of the game. In the city of Cytress, you can also find merchants, where you can trade one type of supply for another type of supply. In the middle you can see which kind of supplies you can trade for. For example, you can trade weapons to get credits, and you can trade pharma to get all of the other supplies, and the scheme goes around. But you can of course get better at trading by upgrading your rover life path. In the start of your career you will only get 1 credit for 1 credit, 1 tech for 1 tech, and 1 weapon for 1 weapon. As you upgrade your leader, you will get better and better results. Meaning that here for example you will get 2 credits when you trade 1 weapon instead of 1. Once you have completed 3 missions against the same faction, you may meet the Bounty Hunter, also called the Enforcers, to claim one of the rewards. Up here you have the different reward cards for the different factions. Once you have completed 3 missions against this faction, for example, you get to take the top card. This card will grant you prestige in the end of the game. At the beginning of the game, each player got 2 of these skill cards. On the sides here we can see different skills. If you complete 3 missions that has any of these skills, you will be able to become a specialist in these skills by taking one of the skill ascendants down here and upgrading the card. So once we have, for example, completed 3 sabotage missions, we would be able to put the skill ascendant on top of these cards, giving you an extra special skill. Once phase number 3 is over, we move into phase number 4. This is pretty much the cleanup phase. We take back our leaders, we take back our ships. If we have any loans, this is the time to pay them. And we also refresh the Stataline track, removing the one to the right and putting them in the discard pile down here. And then we move everyone 1 step to the right. We take the top card from the bottom and place it all the way over to the left. So once we've done the cleanup step, we are ready to start a new round, starting in phase number 1 again. The player that was to the left of the starting player now becomes the starting player. And this is the way the game continues. We go through the different phases, we move our little leaders around, we move our little ships around, we build our tunnels, and we do missions. When we have emptied out all of the tunnels under the Sky City, this is where we come into the final round. Now we need to bring out the tunnels that we did not use during this game. Remember, we took 7 tunnels per player at the start of the game, and we set the other ones aside. Now we bring them in. We finish this round, and when that round is done, the game is over. And the player that has the most amount of prestige is the winner. You get prestige from building tunnels, you get prestige from doing the missions, the bounty missions, you get prestige from leftover supplies. But remember, if you have debt card, you will lose prestige instead. And in the end, the player that has the highest amount of prestige is the winner. There you have it, people. That was Cytress for you. This is a sci-fi futuristic game that comes out on Kickstarter this year. I love the color scheme of this game. I love the art of this game. It's really cool. It's cartoonish, but it's still pretty badass. It doesn't get childish in any way. The gameplay goes really, really fast. There's a lot of things you can do in here. The rules themselves are not that hard, but there's a lot of choices for you as a player, which I think is a really, really good thing. Because you don't really get bored by playing, because there's always something that you can do. There's somewhere you can place your leader, there's somewhere you can place your ship, and there's always some type of action you can take. And if you don't have any supplies, well, you need to visit the loan shark and hopefully be able to pay it back. This game got a lot of things going for it. It's out on Kickstarter soon. If you want to know more about this game, there will be a link down in the description, so be sure to check that out if you want to. If you like this video, people, please show it by giving it a thumbs up. Throw in a comment there and tell me what you thought about the video. I love to interact with you. If you like my channel, be sure to subscribe to it because I got a lot of videos coming, so I will not disappoint you on that part. And until next time, people, please take care of each other and keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace.